What up? We are back. Paradise Valley Podcast, episode 5. Me and Ross just doing it duo tonight this week. What's up, Ross?
Just a couple co-hosts. How's it going,
A
Shaw?
couple co-hosts riding shotgun. What's up, Dap in the back seat?
What up? No D Brown this week. What up?
Yeah, no D Brown. We're just gonna switch up the format a little bit, do a little power rankings. Excited to run through those. And then just quick recaps and previews as well. So let's get to it, Ross.
Let's do it. Wild week.
I know. Huge week in the Valley. Just going to look at them, I guess, go top to bottom. First off, what do you think going into the Packers game? You think you're going to win it or no?
So I'll just give a quick overview of my thoughts. All
right.
At the beginning of the day, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire was only going to get 10, I thought I really had no chance. And there was a time in the second half of that Pats game where Kelsey got a big catch and it was like 134 to 130. And then luckily the Chiefs scored a couple TDs. So I was up 10 going into the Packers game. And I was honestly I'm pretty comfortable. I think MVS can easily stay under 10 points. And he ended up doing that. But I will say that Monday night of football is the most unenjoyable football I've watched in a while. Just a whole lot of stress up to the last play where Rodgers is chucking it deep to MVS. But we'll walk out of there with a win. We got our boy Odell going, but definitely a tough loss for Lane to have the second most points and go down, especially where he's at record-wise, needing the win.
Yeah, I mean, you said it before the pod that Lane had a bunch of kind of random guys just go off, and it is crazy looking at his team. If he had a couple of different, if he had Latavius Murray in there, someone like that, he could have pulled off the win.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually really surprised the Burkhead play over Latavius Murray. I understand not playing DJ Shark, but that one just didn't really make sense to me. I think he's probably the chance to be the most productive out of those bad running backs he has.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we'll touch more on the teams, but definitely a good matchup. Jumping into another Monday nighter, if you had told me that Calvin Ridley was going to put up a fucking goose egg, and I was going to win going into Monday night, I would have told you you're crazy. But Rodgers fucking carried the Warriors. I don't know how we pulled that off. And same thing with you, that throw that Rodgers threw up, if he had thrown a pick, I would have lost 2 points and lost. So I
didn't even realize that. And it was underthrown and kind of a bad throw.
I was true. And the Yankees was on its one-run game at that point. I was just, I lost a couple years of my life Monday night.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 2-2.
Yeah, that's a huge win for the Warriors. I mean, look at your division. You guys all play each other twice, and you guys are all 2-2. Or not all 2-2. The worst people are 2-2. So it's going to be a cutthroat West division. I think how it's shaped up with the Rockers, TDs, and even Sheehan, it seems like the East side is the better division to be in if you're competing for playoffs. So I'm liking to see that.
Yeah, I think we all knew that from the start. Just how the cookie crumbles, I guess.
Yeah.
Moving on to a big one. Kurtz got his first loss, and wasn't all that close. I guess we probably were expecting this to be a higher scoring matchup, but
yeah, I mean, it was definitely the two highest projections coming in. To be honest, that was the least exciting one, because even with Mahomes going and the possibility of Julio Darrow's matchup had a little implications going into Monday night. But yeah, it's just Kurtz's squad didn't really put up. Ingram, I mean, he hit his over for me, but he only got 10 points. I think Jonathan Taylor didn't have the best game. So, I mean, Kurtz's got a solid squad, but that's a huge win for Mac to make it a four-way tie for first. So that's a big win for Mac.
Yeah, huge win for Mac. I just looking at the teams, I think these are two teams that are going to be playoff contenders, which we're going to touch on, but certainly some holes to poke in both, as with any team at this point, but we'll get into that more. A tough one for our missing co-host, Steve Brown. But back to Owen, or not back, but moving to 0-4. Had a chance Monday night, but then it was just tough to see Mahomes in the second half just kind of pull his heart out, I guess. And then Julio going out. obviously at that point it was just totally over.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been more painful if it was closer and Julio went out, but you just got to feel for the guy 0-4. He's really hungry for that first win. He wants it. I think Dim didn't have, like, if you look at it, it's the second least points scored this week. So, I mean, if there was a guy that Darryl was going to play this week that he had a chance of beating, it was that guy. And he's got some holes. Kenyon Drake's just really not doing anything for him. So hopefully he can get on the board this week. We don't want anyone to go 0-5, but that's a lucky win for Dim Dogs to go to tied for first place with the least points scored, but he will take it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even notice that. When me and Dee stayed on the pod last week and made that trade for Josh Kelly and Chase Edmonds and Hollywood Brown, and he was like, "What about Drake for Mixon?" And I was like, "I mean, I don't know. Nah, I'm not going to do that." And he's like, "Come on, man, like the same guy, like toss up." And certainly glad at this point I didn't do that because that would have swayed both of our matchups. So,
oh yeah,
I made the trade I did.
That was good to stick with Mixon. He had a day.
For sure. Then the last matchup, a big one, another tight one. Good fucking week in the Valley. Dap Nappers pulled it off. He was sweating on Monday night watching Gurley and Jones potentially having a chance against him, but wasn't enough for the Mountain Goats. And all of a sudden they're 1-3, dealing with injuries, and two teams that are going to have a lot of injury concerns or have had injury concerns. So definitely big for Dap to win here with two of his guys going down.
That's absolutely massive win for Dap to lose Chubb, I think, late in the first quarter, and Eckler, I think it was the fourth play on offense. Like, to come back from that, it's just like basically you played two guys who you know are going to score no points, and to go and put up 132. I mean, Cooper had a big day. I forget who else went off, Mark Andrews, but he had his guys really put in the work. And I mean, now he's got to scramble and try and fight, maybe go 3-3 over the next 6 just to have a chance for the playoff runs with Chubb and Eckler, because that roster's hurt, and you feel for a guy. Like, I felt really bad. Like, his first 2 picks within like the first 10 minutes of the game, like in week 4, it sucks. You never want to see that happen. But that's also a tough loss for Sheehan. Like, with putting up 130 points, like that's a solid week. I thought maybe Jonesy was going to break one and break Dap's heart at the end of that game. But I don't hate Sheehan's team. I still, like, 1-3, I still think he has a chance. He hasn't had Thomas for a while, but that's a tough loss to swallow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so that's where we're at after 4 weeks. I'm excited for this next part. Let's get into the power rankings. Oh, actually, we're going to do over-under first. So last week, Ross, you went 2-0, right? So
yep, still in first.
Yeah, so you're 5-1. I also went 2-0 with Mark Andrews, and my under was Zeke, and D went 1-2. He was making up for one of the guys he missed. He missed Juju, I think, 1 week or someone.
Oh, okay, that's why he did that. I was so confused when he's like, I went 1-2.
Yeah, he went Dobbins and Gronk and missed them both. So.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, he still submitted his pick, so we'll just say him real quick. Melvin Gordon over 11.3 against the Pats.
I will say he looked good, but like, I don't love that. I was watching Clyde very closely, and the lanes were tough there. But who knows if what is with him picking games that might not even happen, because that one's in jeopardy with the Patriots.
Yeah, and Lindsey's coming back too, so that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Let's move on to your pick.
Yeah, I'm going with D's boy, Evan Ingram. I think that Cowboys defense is just like a matchup galore. I can't think of the word, but it's just like perfect for Ingram, perfect for Danny Dimes. I could be wrong, Dap, but I feel like I've remembered games in the Big D where Ingram just scores TDs. Like, I think if you go look at a stadium, that might be his best stadium stat wise. So I think they're playing in Big D. Am I right, Dap?
I think so. Okay,
we're going to assume they are. So I'm expecting a big day. Like, the Giants' offenses look bad. This is a good defense to get right by. So Ingram with a couple TDs.
Like it. All right, my pick. I'm going this week with Justin Jefferson. Similar to the Cowboys, Seahawks are just letting wide receivers eat against them. Justin Jefferson has looked really good. I have a feeling Seahawks get up in this game, a touchdown or 2, And then it's just touchdown back and forth the whole game. Vikings trying to get back into it with Seattle, not really being able to stop them, but their offense is so good they're going to score an extra touchdown. So I think Jefferson scores a touchdown, might even get over it just with yards and catches, 80 yards, 5 catches, something like that. I can see it easily. Justin Jefferson, that's my over pick for the week. Looking to stay hot.
Yeah, Jefferson's looking good. All these rookie wideouts, as you expected, but they're all balling with like T. Higgins, CD Lamb. There's someone else, but they're going
Judy's
off.
been decent.
Yeah.
D. Brown went with Keenan Allen. 13 points against the Saints. All right. We'll see.
I'm going with Todd Gurley. I watched that game the other night, and he did not look explosive. Like, he looked slow. I mean, both of his touchdowns were pretty solid, especially the first one. He, juked a guy and broke a tackle. But besides that, he just doesn't look that good. It doesn't look like Atlanta's really using him that much. I think they're starting 0-4. Like, he's only on a one-year deal. Like, if they get any worse, it's going to turn it to the point where they're just like, let's see what our younger guys have. And I think they're already kind of there. I don't love Gurley. He's been surviving with TDs, and I feel like he's bound to not get one soon. So I think he goes under that easily.
Watching that game was so pathetic because Atlanta, you could tell what they were trying to do. They had a 20-play drive. They're trying to just take the ball out of the air. But then giving it to Gurley, first down, sometimes second down too, and it's just like he's lucky to get a yard or two. Like, he never that line and burst through. Like, maybe near the end zone, he does have a nose for it seems, but that's about it.
I will say, yeah, he is good at scoring, but is it just me or does Atlanta just they looked a lot slower not on turf? Like, especially, I mean, Calvin Ridley was hurt, but like, he looked slow too. Like, they just did not look explosive.
Yeah, that guy Zacharias Smith or whatever the hell his name is was doing great, but that was about the only guy who looked like he wasn't playing in slow-mo. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump to mine. I'm going David Montgomery. That trade for C-Mac earlier slides Montgomery into the starting lineup for him, which I love. The Bucks, I think 12. I'm a little surprised by that because their rush D is nice against the Chargers last week, especially once Eckler went down. They were tough to stop. Thursday night game, I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Bears. Might be a little biased because I'm a Bucks fan, but I just don't really see Montgomery doing much. He looks like he doesn't look like anything special, and they're trying to get him involved in pass catching, but we'll see. The 11.4 seems high to me, so trying to go 2-0, and Dave Montgomery's my pick.
Yeah, Bears offense looks terrible.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's Nick Foles or freaking Trubisky, they're going to be bad.
All right, you want to just run through your power rankings, and we'll run through mine, then we can talk about.
Let's just put them both on the table and just kind of talk where we're thinking, like, by tiers. How do you like that?
That's good. Yeah, let's do that.
But I'll start. There's 4 teams at 3-1. I think I've had the most points so far. I've been the only one who hasn't fell under 120. I got to put myself at the top. I love my roster. I've been a part of some championship caliber teams, and this feels like one. But we got a long way to go. It's still early on. Kind of with the next tier, I think it's like there's 4 teams that could easily have been in the one spot, and Kirch is definitely one of those solid teams. He's got a very solid team that's going to be looking out for. And then, I mean, if you look at Sandman, his QB situations, it's a nightmare, but he's with Alvin Kamara on your roster and then Chris Carson. Those are 2 very good fantasy running backs this year. So I think he has a scary team. He had a tough loss to Kirch. He had a tough loss to Hall. So 2-2 is not where he wants to be, but I think roster wise, I like him up as top of the league. And then I got to go with Ezekiel Elliott and Lamar Jackson. That's a scary combination. I know we've been shitting on Mac a lot, but I mean, he's 3-1. He's had some wideouts almost overperform with Stephon Diggs and Keenan Allen, but just that roster looks solid, and I think he'll be around for the long haul. And then just to sum up the top 5, I got to go with Dim at 3-1. I think he might be a little mad that he's that low, but I mean, as we spoke about it earlier with that win this week against D, like he would have lost to anyone else. So that's kind of a gift win. And then he had that really tight win against Sheehan week 1. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he had that 180 point week, and I think he has a good roster. So, like, he'll be there. But, like, right now, I gotta have him at the end of the top 5, not making playoffs.
Yeah, all right, I'll go. I think the top two, I agree, like could have reversed it, but I'll give it to Kurtz just based on overall talent. I think Russell Wilson is probably going to end up as QB1. It's him and Mahomes, but he's great. His running back is solid, and then wide receiver, his depth with Metcalf, Hill, and Godwin, I like that a lot. So I slid him just above you, but agreed you got a pretty solid team as well with the running backs, and then Hunt obviously coming in as now the number one guy there for the next couple of weeks at least, and who knows even when Chubb does come back. So that's huge for you. But then I have to disagree, like in the mid, like I guess the second two playoff teams, and then like 5-6 slots after that. I think Dim's got a nice team. I like Henry to pick it up if his team can ever get back on the field. And like I just said, Mahomes is an absolute beast. So I think that'll be a huge advantage. And I'm a believer in both Gibson and Robinson. I doubted them early on, but I don't know. They both look pretty legit to me. Gibson with Kyle Allen in there, he went to McCaffrey a lot. Obviously, it's CMC, but still, you got to think he's going to go to his running back, and Gibson's getting more and more of the work share. And then Hopkins and Lockett both look good. And his bench is pretty solid with Boyd and Jefferson coming on, and then Harris as well looked good last week for the Pats. So I like Dim's team. I'm going to give him some credit. Just felt like I had to there because I hadn't, but just looking at his team and doing these power rankings, I slid him in there. And then for me, I really didn't even – I recognize that Ravens Nest is 3-1, but I don't think he's got that solid of a roster compared to me and Salmon, to be honest with you. I think we clearly have better teams. I haven't scored as many points as either of those teams, obviously, but I think my team is just not pieced it together yet. I think we're going to figure it out. So after beating Sandman, it was tough, but I had to slide myself in the 4th spot, and then he's right there. He's got a good team. I know I was doubting his running back depth, but like you just said with Kamara and Carson, those two are nice. And then I guess sliding into that 6th spot, Ravens Nest, obviously playing him this week, so if he kicks my ass, it's gonna look rough for me, but Montgomery as the second running back is tough, and then Allen and Diggs have played great. We'll see if they can continue to be like top 12 wide receivers. I don't know if they can keep it up. So that's my top 6. What do you? Obviously, you don't agree on all.
Yeah. So just pre-production meetings, the Wakanda Warriors on my list got the most buzz around me putting them kind of that low. But my thinking is just I said to Hall I like his roster a lot. It's just like the guys haven't performed at what they should be performing, or it's not even like he made mistakes, but like he's put the wrong flex in. He played Allen Robinson 2 weeks where he had duds. Well, I think that wide receiver decision is just weighing on him every week because he has like 5 quality guys, and like Calvin Ridley looked like he was that tier above, and then he throws up a goose egg for you. So at this point, it's like, is there any shoe-in starter? I mean, Ridley's got to be for the next couple weeks, but who knows if he just has a hot stretch. So I like the team a lot. I took into consideration a little bit the records with Dim and the Nest being 3-1. But I want to see like Hall piece it together for one big week with Mixon having a good day and Jacobs, and it just right now it just seems like they're like quality names, but they're having like either a big game or just not enough production for you. But I mean, obviously the manager that the commish is, he's a scary guy at 2-2, and I could easily see him being a top 3, if not best team in the league by the end of the year. And then I like Sheen's roster a lot. I know he's only 1-3. But if you look at Mostert when he's played, you look at Aaron Jones, who's just a fantasy stud, and then to get Mike Thomas back, like that's going to be big. You saw what Kittle did for his lineup this week with 15 catches. Like that's crazy. And then Kyler Murray's pretty good. So I just like Sheen's roster. I think he's going to string together some wins, and this is not going to be the last we hear of him. And then just looking at the bottom 3, it's pretty simple. The common theme amongst those teams is they've all lost their first round pick. And Some's happened earlier than others, with Dap being able to squeeze out that win. But I got to take into consideration heading forward. And even though he just beat Sheehan, I still like Sheehan's roster with what he has over Dap's with no Chubb or Eckler. And then it's pretty simple with D. Like, he lost McCaffrey and Jones hasn't been playing. And it's his roster's looking rough. He knows it. And he's going to need a miracle to get back into playoff contention.
Yeah, I think we can agree, like, D and Lane's team. I mean, Lane obviously put up a good week, but I think those two are probably at the bottom. But I just looking at the Sheehan's team versus Daps, I think it's an interesting conversation for sure. But Sheehan has 3 running backs. Like, that's it. So I
agree.
Like, Jones is on bye this week. He's got Mostert, was limited at practice today. Hopefully he plays. If not, he literally has to pick someone up to start at running back.
He literally doesn't have another running back.
He does not have a running back on his team besides those 3.
I may have to give him a call.
That is just wild to me. His depth is not great. And he's got, like, T. Higgins, who's been nice, Jerry Jeudy, Cooks, Jarvis Landry. Not really inspiring wide receivers on the bench. And I'll give it to Dap. Like, if he doesn't get those 2 guys hurt, he's way higher on this list. He's probably 4 or 5. But
2 and 2 with I would have Dap way higher. Agreed.
But he still, I think, has depth at, like, and can deal with these injuries better than some teams. Like, we'll see how long Mike Davis is in for. I think that's going to be huge for him. But Singletary's looked really good. Juju and Cooper seemed pretty good. Mark Andrews is a beast. So, like, I think he's going to be able to piece it together. And Sheehan's team, I'm just like, if one thing goes south. So I think if one of them's going to make a run, I put more faith in Dap than Sheehan.
I respect that. I just think Sheehan, if he can stay healthy, like, that lineup is nasty. And clearly he hasn't been able to yet, but it kind of looks like everyone's coming back to form right now. Obviously, he's dealing with an early bye, but I think if he can get that roster back and, like, Gurley can somehow still average like 14 to 15 points a game, like, he'll take that every day.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're so right, though. I may have to give Sheehan a call after this, too. I thought I knew he was short on RBs, but just look at him, like, where's his 4th RB? Holy shit, he doesn't have one. So,
what has he been doing in the waiver wire?
Picking up T. Higgins and Jerry Jeudy. / not doing much, I guess.
You got to also question that all 3 of his running backs are very injury prone.
What's up, Dap?
All 3 of his running backs are all very injury prone.
Yeah, exactly. Like Gurley, Mostert, Aaron Jones. I don't know if all 3 are staying alive. All right.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear Dap's quick opinion on these lists.
I agree a little bit more with Caleb's top 4 other than himself. But, like, I think Dim belongs in the top 4. I definitely think you and Kirch have solidified being in the top 4, but I will give it, like, I don't like that you have the Ravens nest up there. I don't think that their roster, like Caleb said, it's, like, super complete and deep. Like, a lot of his running backs, I think, are just putting on shows early in the season.
I agree.
Okay. What about the mid half? Like, where do you think you should be on these lists when you take into consideration how your roster is going to be looking for the next couple weeks?
I think 7's pretty fair for where I'm at right now. Like you said, like, if I didn't have Chubb and Eckler go down, I probably would have gotten highest score, been somewhere in the 150s, 160s. And I think I would have deserved to be probably in the top 5, but at 2 and 2 with my first 2 picks going down, I think 7's pretty fair.
Yeah,
and the 7 to 8 range.
We've talked about it. If you just piece it together, 6 weeks for both of them? That's the original status.
I was getting a second opinion I was looking at. So,
on fantasy podcast,
saying like it could affect his knee.
Yeah, they were saying Eckler is getting a second opinion because he might be done for the year.
Oh, okay.
Because his hammy, but it's up near his knee. So if it's closer to the knee, there's more tendons and ligaments and all that stuff involved. So if it has some of that stuff involved, he could be done for more than 6 weeks.
Okay. Well, I agree with that. When I watched it, I was like, he's done for the year. Like, that was bad. So, and then it was only a hammy, which I was surprised. But I mean, if you could piece it together, Daff, like I said, this is 5-5 could be bad expectations. Like you could easily go 4-2 or 5-1 in the next couple. But if you can get to 5-5 and have a chance with those injuries, that'll be very impressive.
Yeah, 4-2 is definitely the goal, but we'd take 3-3.
All right, let's move on to the preview. Definitely curious to hear what people think about those power rankings. Real quick, hopefully all of these games get played. Obviously, we put into like place what happened last week where you can put in your replacement players. We'll probably continue to do that with games.
Shout out to the commish. That was honestly, like, I don't know if I would have played Clyde, like, going into Sunday with the expectations that people could have woke up and had COVID, but that was respect to the commish. That was adapting on your feet.
Yeah, well, my take was we're all dealing with it, and it's no fun that we all have to try and deal with it and someone gets lucky because that game doesn't get played or something like that. So I just think it's the best bet to just assume the games are going to get played, and if we find out late that they're not, have something in place so that someone doesn't get unlucky because they did play, whatever the case. But let's jump into previews. Week 5. Me and C-Mac, this is a big one for me starting off. Projections have him favored, but I am not going to lie, out of the last 3 weeks, facing Trev and then Dap the week before, this is the most confident I felt out of the last 3 weeks. I like my matchups. I feel good about where I'm at, and I think we're going to give C-Mac a whooping here.
You got to like where you're at after Joe Mixon has a week like that, especially when we call them out on the pod. It seems like the Bengals are going to keep getting in the ball more. This is a big one. I mean, there's been a lot said about the nest as usual in the podcast. Both you and Daff are pretty low on him. I guess I've been taking Zeke and Lamar too high into consideration because, I mean, Zeke's one of the best fantasy guys game in and game out, and that's why it can easily carry a week because, like, if you look at my week this week, I had 2 guys have like 70-plus points, and if you can consistently have that, you just need some guys to piece stuff together, and I think he has guys that can do that. And I'm rooting against Lamar and Mac, but like if I just can feel a huge game coming from him soon. But this is going to be a tight one. I would have to see matchups, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. He has Le'Veon Bell in at the second spot, who's still in the IR. So
wow,
from Montgomery going.
I guess he is scrambling at that RB spot.
Evans, Allen, and Diggs, 3 solid wide receivers, but yeah, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, actually, I may have like not looked hard enough because if his running backs are Fournette, Montgomery, and Bell, like that's a little sketchy.
Yeah, and then he's got Malcolm Brown.
And then he just went all in on Robert Tonyan, of course, after he has 3 TDs.
Shocker there. All right, let's move on to Kirch's matchup against Lane. Big one for Lane, I would say. You could almost start to chalk this up as a must-win for him. Falling to 1-4 would be tough, especially if the lack of talent, as we're calling it here.
Yeah, this is a big one for Lane. He needs it to stay alive, basically. Like we said with his roster, he has some holes after the injuries. Devontae Adams on a bye this week. It's tough sledding, but he had some guys go off. If they can continue that, he might have a chance. But it's tough part of the schedule for Lane to see Kirch coming up after losing to the highest scorer. Like, it doesn't get easier for him seeing Kirch on the matchup.
Yeah, just real quick, Lane just traded for McKinnon today, like we just mentioned, and then he's in his starting lineup, and then Sheehan, like we just saw, has Mostert in. So one of the two of them is going to be scrambling for a running back. Lane at least has another one on his roster, but it's either Latavius Murray or Burkhead. So, and that.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that both of them could still have value?
Who, Murray and Burkhead?
No, McKinnon and Mostert. If
yeah.
both play.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I'm just saying for this week, if one of them sits,
yeah,
there's going to be one of them's going to be very happy, the other dude's going to be scrambling.
For sure.
And then on Kirch's team, I think this is a big week for him. I think he's got a lot of talent, but we're still trying to figure out what is Jonathan Taylor, who is D.D. Metcalf. is Mark Ingram going to do anything for him? I think he's got a couple of guys that have to prove himself, and this is a big week for that.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on to your matchup.
Yeah.
Jim's got the highest projections here, but
yeah, I didn't have my kicker in until I was waiting for someone to be able to go on my IR, and then conveniently I was waiting to put Fant on my IR, and then Corey Davis got COVID, so I threw him on there and picked up a kicker. But yeah, Dims, I was looking at his 3 running backs, like they all have solid projections. And then he has the best player in football in Pat Mahomes. So that's always nice to have. This is not going to be easy. Dim's got a good squad. Just on my side quickly, I got the 2 Browns playing against the Colts D, and I have the Colts D. They're number 1. It's a sticky situation if I'm going to start them or not.
You got to start Hunt, right?
Oh, no, not the. I'm definitely starting Hunt and OBJ. It's whether or not I start the Colts D.
Gotcha.
But I think I love where Hunt's at. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's due to start getting some more fantasy points. The amount of touches he gets in that offense, he just really hasn't been getting it inside the 5 besides week 1. So I just have a good feeling Reed's going to try and get his first round pick, some TDs this week. And hopefully we can beat Dim and stay in first place. I don't know if you have any thoughts about the matchup.
Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well. I think this is the best matchup of the week going into it. Obviously, you never know who's going to go off and who's going to throw up duds, but just matchup-wise, I think this is a good matchup. And right now it says 109.5 for you, but it's 117.7. So obviously.
So, yeah, it's going to be tight.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I have a quick point. You said Russ Wilson or Pat Mahomes were going to be 1 or 2 for fantasy QB. I love my guy Dak. He's not been the best, but if that defense is going to continue to be that bad, he is just going to eat up fantasy points.
Yeah, no, he's been good too. He doesn't run it as much though, does he?
Ask D about that. He had 3 Russian TDs week 2. He doesn't get that many yards. He'll get 15 a game, but
yeah.
I wonder if it's a little different because they've just been throwing the ball. They've been down so big, they've just been chucking it around, which Dap loves, Lane loves.
Yeah,
C-Mac, everyone.
I think it's clearly the top 5 is Wilson, Mahomes, Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and then Kyler Murray, I would say. And Rodgers is right up. And Josh Allen probably.
Yeah. Oh, Josh Allen's a beast. He's not – I mean – I keep expecting him to be bad, and he's not. And of course, I don't know if you watched that game. It was a clear TD. The ball was across the line on a passing TD, and they reviewed it and said no TD. And I was like, let's go. And then I was like, wait a second, they're gonna run it. And what do you know? QB sneak. So Lane gets 2 extra points there.
Damn. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but he is he's looked real good this year. So that's one bright spot for Lane for sure. All right, let's move on to Sandman and the Nappers. Obviously, with the injuries we just talked about for the Nappers, it's going to be a tough one. And then Sandman, Carson looked like he was hurt and then came back strong, so he's good to go. Kamara Monday night will be big for him, and I like this. I like this matchup a lot. I think it's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, looking at it just on the outside, Sandman's got to get this win. Couple tough losses. He's been talking a lot of game about how well his roster is. And then you get the Dap Nappers coming in and off 2 crucial injuries. That's just a matchup you got to win if you want to compete for playoffs. If you look at it, they're both 2-2. This is opposite division, so they may only play once. This could be a huge head-to-head factor. This is a big game. If Dak can pull this off, then I think there might be that magic in downtown where it's wait a second, is he gonna do this? But again, I think this is one Sandman's got to have. You gotta pick him to win with the guys he has, but I'll be rooting for Dak.
For sure. And just one point on Sandman too, the quarterback. As we mentioned, those top 7, neither of these teams have one of those top quarterbacks. Obviously, Tom looked great, so if he can keep it up and be one of those backcoming QB1s, that's great. But for Sandman, what's the answer at QB gonna be? And I don't know if it's Goff or Stafford, to be honest with you.
He's got to do something. He can't, like, their peak is like 20 points. Like I watched the games with him and he's like, I should have started Stafford. He got me 20 points. Like, which is like, you're never mad when the QB gets you 20 points, but it's like, I just feel like those guys are never going to get you to the 30 plateau, which is like, that wins matchups. And there's guys out there that are doing that on people's bench, whether it be Newton when he comes back, or even like Joe Burrows has looked really solid.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's guys out there. I think eventually he's got to swallow his pride and make a move for a QB someone has.
Yeah, I think they're both top, 15 QBs on any given week, but rarely are they ever top 10 QBs on any given week.
Yeah, they're like right on that edge of the top 10. Agreed.
Right. All right, last matchup. Must win for D Brown. Maybe if he does get the win, he'll be back as our co-host next week. And then probably equally as big matchup for Sheehan. He's 1-3, got his guys back. Projections look good, but wouldn't this be a classic loss for Sheehan?
Yeah, just the guy Sheehan's become in this league, unfortunately. It's just like you kind of expect him to lose this. Like D Brown, 0-4. He still has injuries. You're getting your guys back, and like I can just see like Michael Thomas coming back and having like 3 catches for 40 yards, or like
Casey Hayward's pretty good on Monday night. Like,
and it's just like Drew Brees hasn't looked that good in general. So I mean, D's going to need like a Marquise. He's going to need a big week out of someone you don't expect. I'm going to say he's going to need like a Marquise Brown, like 2 TDs, like 100 yards, like a big game like that. I'm looking right now. He has Dearness Johnson in the lineup. That's kind of a bold start. But I mean, I know he's hurting for guys right now. So
I like Drake's matchup though. I like Rojo, especially if Fournette doesn't play. I give D a chance here. I'm sniffing an upset.
I like looking at the rosters right now. I'm like, I have Gurley as my under. Mike Thomas, Mostert coming in injured. DJ Moore's look good, but that matchup is so juicy. And then I just think they got to get Kenyon Drake going eventually, right? Like they're paying him $8 million on a 1-year deal. Like they brought him back for a reason. Like eventually he's got to get going, right?
He's got to. I agree. This will be an interesting one. I think it'll be another interesting week in the Valley. Obviously, it always is. It's it's coming down to it here.
Yeah, this part of the season is where it's like you really start separating tiers, and there's some big 3-1 versus 3-1 matchups, and 2-2 versus 2-2, and it's pretty like we got the 0-4 versus the 1-3. So it's basically everyone's a big matchup except I forget. There's one other 1-3 team, but Lane's playing someone's. But there's some big matchups, and this could either like if the 2-2 teams win, bring everyone together, or start separating.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great week in the Valley.
Absolutely, always is. If you guys are around Southie tomorrow night, the Swingers are playing at 7. Me and Ross playing center field. You can see us.
Let's go
against Stu's crew.
Elite defense so far.
Elite. All right. Week 5. Good luck, boys. We'll catch you here next week. Same time, same place. Peace out.
Peace, boys.
Go Yankees.
Go Rays. Go Rays.